What's going on, everybody? It is Dataslate Day here for Warhammer 40k. It has happened. We've all been kind of waiting, seeing what happens, and there are changes across the game. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and go through the Balance Dataslate. We're going to go through the MFM points for all the different armies, and then we're going to kind of give our overall opinion on where we think the meta is and what made out like bandits and what didn't.
Yes. You know how Eldar was a massive winner last time because they didn't get touched? Well, hold that thought.
Hold that
thought for a little bit.
It all came at once, baby.
Yeah.
It's been building up. And then after that, if you do want to super chat to ask us any questions, we will answer all of those at the end after we've done our little bit of a recap. So if you do have questions for us, we definitely will be answering them, but it'll just happen a little bit later in the stream. So without further ado here, let's go ahead and head on over. If you are joining us, of course, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about us, leave a comment below letting us know what you think of the slate, what your armies are feeling about it. Are you excited? Did certain things get nerfed? Do you think there's new options? We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to see games with not only the new detachments that come out, we have Space Wolves coming out today, and then the other, I think 5, so it's 6 total detachments. We're going to be playing games with all of them in the War Room. Check out the War Room at thewarroom.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, and there is also a wonderful international Discord community where basically it's popping off because everybody wants to come up with new list ideas.
That's right. Right now is the time to be in there for sure because people are cooking.
100%. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go through this Balanced Dataslate. Now, there's not a ton of changes in the slate itself. In previous iterations of the meta, we'd have some big core rules changes and whatnot. And right now, it's kind of, this is just what it is. Let me go ahead and just grab that real quick.
Yeah.
So Sisters don't get anything. Admech don't get anything. I think basically...
Yeah, no Admech changes, no Sisters rules changes. It seems like they're happy with where the rules are. Maybe the points were a little off. They didn't change any Custoders rules, which I find to be incredibly disappointing. But
that's really what they need, not 5 points off of Custodian Guard or Alice Terminators or whatnot.
Yeah, they lowered the points more than the 10 points they usually give me, right? But if there's an army that's crying out for a rules redesign or a rules change in some fundamental way, it is Custoders. So it's a little disappointing, but the sad part is I'm kind of expecting it now. I'm used to it by now. Custodians didn't change. That's crazy. Anyway.
So Admech, this is the big one for me, is I was worried maybe they would revert some of the rules changes and Admech would kind of lose the roles that they gained. But nope, they're just going to get points increases, which we'll go through in the MFM. So very happy with that. Now, Eldar, this is the biggest and most impactful section.
I'm going to take this one.
Yeah, you do it. You played a lot of Eldar.
I played a bunch of Eldar. I played 6 events with Eldar with my Warhost build, which I think was really good. So they got the double nerf, right? Because they got hammered by rules changes. They didn't miss anything, basically. They went in and they just removed all of the really broken interactions from from the 2 detachments, right? From Warhost and Aspect Host. Mm-hmm. And then they also hammered the points. And if you can take one, you can take the rules and not the points. You can take the points and not the rules. Generally, it's probably better to take points, but whatever. You
points
don't really get to choose. Yes. But they hit both. And man, Eldar got smacked around. Okay, so the way that the army functions is it's generally centered around, you have other units in the list that are important, we'll get to them, but you have kind of an MSU core of the list, and then it's built around some amount, generally 2 vehicles that move very far, get units out, shoot, and then get back in. And that is generally what the list is built around. Now that doesn't work, right? So agile maneuvers means that star engines, or the change to star engines means that the vehicle gains assault instead of anything else. That is essentially you don't have fly vehicles or any vehicles really that you care about shooting. And the ones that you do, man, you have the token to move 2 to 3 extra inches depending on which detachment you're in. So are you ever going to use star engines? No, they deleted it from the codex. You can use just the +2 or +3 move. It's +3 if you're in Warhost, yeah. So you can just use that on the vehicle instead, and it still works exactly the same, except you don't get the D6 on the front end of it. Okay, so they just remove star engines. That is a serious hit, right? But then you can't get back inside, basically, at all. You have to fight to get back in with Skyborn Sanctuary, and that changes both Aspect Host and War Host. You have to fight to get back in.
Like, Jane Czar can do that, but what else is... nothing else is really doing that.
And Jane Czar is probably, like, I think you can still make a B-tier War Host list. Maybe even low A. I don't know, man. It relies on your ingenuity, right? Those units are still very fast. That revolves around units like getting out, charging with Jane Czar, getting back in.
Like it's 2,
stuff
I guess.
like that, right? So it's a lot harder to set up. It's a lot easier to play around as the opponent, I'll tell you that. But you can probably still make it work if you really, really want to, and you play really, really well, right? But because if you get out of a transport after it is moved, you cannot charge, you just can't use that strat at all. And then Fire and Fade used to let you get back into transport, which is a significant part of the reason why Warhost was in my opinion, better, right? But that's kind of a moot point at this point, right? You can't get back into transport now. Anyway, you can still make plays happen by going exactly to the other side of the wall and then hopping back to the other side. You can still make that work, and with very small bases and thin walls, you can make it work 100% of the time, and anything else, it's essentially a 2-up. Still workable, a lot worse. And then Aspect Shrine tokens, you can't use them on character models joined to units. That's the last rules change. It's also pretty huge. Ozherman essentially is now bad. That's just the way it works.
You get a free Fire and Fade off of him. And that does let you embark, right?
Yeah, that didn't change. But the problem here is he doesn't do any damage because you need the flips on him. That being said, yes, you are correct. The Fire and Fade that still lets you get back in transports with Ozherman's datasheet ability might be good enough that you take him. Regardless, there are a lot. Basically, every attached character wanted to use these. The guy with the character with the meltagun. No, not him. I know his name. The Autarch. The Autarch with a meltagun is now essentially non-existent. The main reason you took him was A, free grenade, and B, you could shoot the meltagun and flip it to make it auto wound. Can't do that anymore. Fugan spread shot. You can't make it auto crit on the hit roll. So that is a larger change than it looks like. It still does. That doesn't matter on Jane Czar. Jane Czar is the GOAT right now, by the way, because she can still get back in transports, and she wasn't using the flip anyway. Her damage 3 Exarch was. She's the GOAT. But, you know, the Fugan, Fire and Fading core got a lot worse, and so...
I'm just drinking these Eldari tears. It's so good.
Oh, it's delicious. Fine. Whatever. I mean, that army was abusive.
It was.
It really was. Speaking as someone who played a bunch of it, it was abusive. I think this is fair. I think the points changes might have been a little punitive on top of that. We'll have to see. Eldar units are very efficient at killing people, so I would not be 100% shocked if, like, in 2 months, you know, Liam VSL is still pounding tournaments over there, but we'll see. I mean, he'll be doing with something, but he might be doing with Eldar. Because they're very efficient at putting a lot of units in your opponent's army and killing them. And while they're less efficient at that, because they went up like 150 points, right? They still do it.
Who knows? This new Harlequins detachment, the Serpent's Brood, could end up becoming the new main way to play Eldar as well.
Yes, Harlequins did not change points at all. And notably here, this didn't hit anything that is not Warhost or Aspect Host. So Wind Rider Host, which I have actually quite a high opinion of, hard to play because it's made out of Space Marine Scouts, but a lot of damage, still has a good Fire and Fade. It does a lot of damage, can't emphasize that enough. Wind Rider Host, untouched, essentially.
Seer Council with the Guardian bricks.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about good detachments, but if you want to talk about Seer Council or Guardian Battle Host, you can do that too.
What about the vehicle one, Jack?
Or Wraith Host. You can probably make those work to like a low B tier rating or whatever, but I think Wind Rider Host and then the new not Gramus, but the new
whatever
Harlequin detachment is quite good.
All right, so that's Aldari there. Pretty significant changes to the two main play styles, so they are fundamentally going to alter their lists.
Yes. I think you might still include Fugan, though. Sorry, Tucker.
Probably, he's good.
He's in the chat.
Astra Militarum, they get their new detachment here, but no direct changes. Black Templars don't get anything, but in the Space Marines FAQ, they added the Land Raider keyword. Shockingly, it wasn't on the Land Raider Crusader or on the Redeemer. So there's a detachment in Black Templars that buffs Land Raiders or interacts with them, and they didn't have the specific Land Raider keyword. So that does make that detachment more playable.
Yeah, that was truly wild. I made a list for that detachment just for, I think it was for group coaching. It might have been for a masterclass. I forget which one. And then people were like, oh, Jack, by the way, you can't actually use it on Land Raider Redeemer because the Land Raider Redeemer is not a Land Raider. And I was like... You got me on that one. I guess I didn't know that. My bad.
Silly Jack, thinking a Land Raider Crusader.
So stupid. They fixed it.
Blood Angels, no direct changes here, but they do get their new detachment, the Rage Cursed Onslaught, which is quite good.
Very good, even. Regardless of what Reddit says.
Yes. Then Chaos Knights, so they're going to get a couple points changes here, but nothing direct. And then CSM as well, same exact thing.
Yep.
Dark Angels have been getting a lot of changes and nothing this time specifically. Death Guard, also nothing, but they don't need it.
They're happy with where Death Guard's at.
Drukhari gets a relatively, it seems minor, but it makes the Hand of the Archon unit playable. You can split them up. Previously, you could split up Kabalite Warriors or the Witches, and the 5-man units are a pretty key part of the Venom kind of economy. The Hand of the Archon unit just couldn't compare to Kabalite Warriors. Now, there's actually a reason where you would think about running some of them, and especially in Kabalite Cartel, this helps quite a bit.
Yep.
Emperor's Children get the Rapid Evisceration Detachment rule, adds that it also benefits transport models.
I guess.
John basically said that you're still going to run Coterie, but if you want to run the new detachment, you could do that. You're not going to do this.
You don't want mechanized murder?
I mean, the Rhino packages are good, but you need the other stuff around it. Gene Steer Cults, they effectively get, I believe, 0 direct changes.
Yeah, they got no changes.
Points and this.
Yeah.
Which is,
again, I know Tucker's in the chat, which means I know that one hurts.
This is the one that hurts for me. Grey Knights are an army that has very limited profiles. They have the Stormbolter profile, they have the 622 combat profile, all over them army, and then they have, for the most part, the infantry weapons and then Dread Knight weapons. Dread Knight weapons gained big benefits in the index days and kept them in the codex, which is great. Infantry weapons have been garbage the whole edition. Low AP, low damage, don't do very much of anything. And Grey Knights really just need more damage profiles. They need more things that aren't low AP, I chip away at garbage units. That's just not what they need.
I have fired more infantry psi cannons than most people. And those things suck.
It's like horribly bad.
They suck. And also, Grey Knights are not in a good spot right now, to be quite honest with you. They kind of are floundering to find a build that like isn't either horribly elite or where it has like 5 units. And they're not like that tough.
There's no trade resources really to speak of. You don't have any infiltrate units, which are pretty crucial in the meta right now. They lack certain tools, and then the psychic keyword for Grey Knights is just a pure downside. I'd love to see N amount of changes that fixes any of the things that I mentioned.
Yes.
Any of them.
Yeah. I would just even take Ignore's cover on psi cannons.
Yes.
Because they don't do anything. they don't do anything. They're AP0 functionally.
Yeah. Put dev wounds on all this stuff. Well, come on, let's do something.
Something. I mean, I don't think they need like more damage out of profiles that they're already taking, but I definitely think that they need some diversity in there.
Yeah.
Because there's the last time you saw a Purgation Squad, dude.
When they had indirect fire.
That was 8th edition.
No, they had it early on. Remember?
Early 9th?
Remember, if you shot something, if something was looking at the target,
it was a spell,
and they got nerfed multiple times in this edition.
Oh yeah, 10th edition, yeah, good. They were just bad. They were just bad. So I never saw them.
Okay,
that's not a real army.
This is an army that Games Workshop doesn't believe is an army, so there should be more stuff. There should be a full page of stuff, but it isn't. So.
It's weird that they even have a tab for an army that isn't real.
That isn't even considered a real army. Imperial Knights, I believe they get one change in their their FAQ, but overall they're relatively the same.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of actual rules changes in the Balance Slate this time. For example, Leagues of Votann, none.
They need a couple changes, in my opinion. The big one is that there's just not enough ways to spend yield points. So you inevitably turn 2 or turn 3 are just never counting again outside of Need Guard. Just doesn't matter. You're just going to be in Fortified Takeover, and you can't do anything about it. I think they designed the army where you're switching back and forth, and it just doesn't work that way. You switch, and then you stay there, and that's it. And so you don't have ways to end up spending them, so I just don't even bother counting them after that. I'd like to see a change.
When you got up to like 11 with no end in sight, I was just like, you're in Fortified Takeover.
That's
it's fine.
What it is.
You've took over, time to fortify.
It's a cool mechanic. It just hasn't been fully realized what it should be.
They hit some points drops on Votann, but no rules changes.
Yeah.
Also, Necrons, super happy with where that army is, apparently. I mean, nobody's having fun when Necrons are on the table.
Really, what Necrons need is they need a bit less durability on the Warriors and the Wraiths, and they need more interesting damage units because they have a very big gap between what can do damage and what can't. And most of the army can't, and a couple things can.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's been that way the whole edition, and I'd like to see a shift in army mentality.
Orks, nothing.
Orks have gotten a lot of changes, but they also have just kind of struggled into the top of the meta. I don't expect that to change, to be honest.
They feel a little too honest to me, but maybe that's just me. They do crack quite hard.
Yeah, if you walk in front of an Orc army, you're getting hit. But
trust me, I know.
Space Marines, probably the most significant change for Space Marines is to Shadowmark Talon. Shadowmark Talon, you can't rapid ingress turn 1 anymore. It's only your movement phase off Hunter's Instinct. Just a perfectly fine change. As soon as we saw that, we're like, okay, this has happened a couple times in the edition where you had a turn 1 rapid ingress. It's broken every time. There's just no need for it. I don't know why we have to keep publishing rules and being like, oh, hold on, we actually just fixed this months ago. Like, come on, what are we doing?
Stormlands keeps theirs, though.
Yeah, they shouldn't. But theirs is more restrictive, right?
It might only be unmounted.
Yeah, I think
because
you used to use it on the Thunderwolves, not even in that.
That used to be quite good.
So otherwise, you get the Assault Terminator data sheet, but not much else is changing for the old Space Marines, except for points. We'll get to that in a second.
Not a lot of rules changes, and not a lot of like significant points changes, but a lot of like little ups and downs for a lot of armies.
Yeah. Thousand Suns. So this change is carried through. A couple of these changes are carried through to Chaos Demons as well. But the main thing is that for some of your spells, you can actually benefit Scintillating Legion units, which is the demon detachment in Thousand Suns. So that's going to help quite a bit, make that detachment more than completely unplayable. And then the big change is you can actually do damage in shooting with Kairos Fate Weaver and the Lord of Change. You have flat 3 indirect fire, which can benefit from the full rerolls. So you have a Psyker, put the full rerolls on the target, and then you can get rerolls on Kairos.
Kind of Magnus-esque from the old days. Still not doesn't hammer quite as hard in indirect, but that's a good thing.
And then Lord of Change also goes to flat 3 damage. Now, Strength 9 is not the greatest breakpoint, but flat 3 damage does help against certain targets in the meta.
I believe the Rod of Sorcery used to be 12 inches, and was it also damage D3?
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was damage 1, so... But I know it was 12 inches, so now it's 18, which is super good.
They're going to get a little bit of a points increase, but ultimately, this is a net positive for these units. Tyranids, nothing. And then World Eaters, also nothing. So we'll head over into the points.
Yep, the points are a lot more impactful here.
Starting off with Sisters.
Okay, so Sisters. My list that I took to Worlds went up 125 points. I honestly think that's reasonable, personally. I wrote a new version of it, and the list still seems pretty good. You do have to trim some of the fat around the edges.
Yeah.
But that list did feel like it had too much stuff in it. That's why I played it. I mean, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. It was fun. Sisters are an army I really like. Whenever their rules are cool, I like them because I just vibe with them every so often. Like, I usually flirt with Sisters once an edition, basically. But the main reason I decided to take it to Worlds was because it felt like there was just too much stuff on the table. You can still get a decent amount of stuff. Yeah, honestly.
You're cutting like one unit or you're making certain units worse.
Yeah. Did Vol have to go up? No, I don't think so. That was just because she's in every list. We're going to see a lot of that, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll probably have a talk about it when we get to Black Templars. Their nerfing and buffing philosophy around these things, but we'll get to it when we get there. The solo canoness being 60 is perfectly reasonable. The Sacrosanct being 140 for 10 is, if anything, still a little on the cheap side, right? Like the Hospitaller going up to 60 makes that unit 200. My guess for a fair cost before this happened was 220, right? And it's 200 now. It was 180 before, which was shockingly gross.
Yeah.
But, Sacrosancts are still very good at 200 for the unit. Really, really good, actually. I would still play Champions of Faith, 100%.
I think this is a perfect example of how an army has the stats that it's too good across the board, but we don't want to take it out of the meta.
Right. Dominions going up 5 feels a little wacky. Like, I don't know why it had to go up, but it's not like unfair. I think for 120, the unit is very reasonable. Same thing for Retributors. 120 is a lot, but it means you'll think before just jamming them in your lists. Retributors are still good. I think my list still has 1 unit of them in there, but they're not a 105, oh my god, they killed my 350 point unit, right? Like they're a lot more reasonable of a cost now. It's 120, they killed my 350 point unit. Okay.
Still great.
Sanctifiers didn't need to go up. I actually don't think that unit's like as good as a lot of people think it is. But that's just me.
It seemed like the sisters armies that were winning in the UKTC events had 3 units of them, 2 to 3 units of them. So
I did see that.
That's probably where that's coming from.
I did see that. When I played with them, they did their role, and then that was it, which was be the first thing out the gate, deal with a skirmish unit in midboard, and then die.
Yeah, have a bunch of flamers for an Overwatch.
So they got cut immediately, but something still needs to fill their role, so I had to move things around. But you'll see a game come out with that sometime soon.
Yeah, 100%. So I think Sisters is still in a good place, and I think they'll be one of the better armies in the game.
I would say so. A lot of things didn't change. Immolators are still, I think, a little undercosted, and they didn't change. I wouldn't expect them to change, but they didn't go down or they didn't go up. Junith at 85 is still pretty good. And then a lot of the changed points costs are just things that I think needed to change, to be honest with you. Sacrosancts and Hospitallers, yeah, they needed to go up. IMO. Retributors, yeah, they needed to go up. Vol didn't, but I'm still going to run the Volgons. That's not going to change anything, right? 395 versus 380 is not going to change the fact it's the centerpiece of my army. So, like, cool.
It's one of the best units in the game.
It's very, very good. It's a very, very good unit. So I'm not going to cut Vol. My list went up 125. My final version of my updated list went up 100. That feels very reasonable to me. I'm not sad about it. I'm sure Sisters players are sad about it.
They had
it
the
is
stats.
what it is. If you were paying attention, you knew that their units were undercosted. We didn't get any rules changes. We got fewer points nerfs than Admech. We're chilling, by and large, I would say.
Custodies. So we've got the Alaris Custodians coming down 10 points for the 2 models, 15 for 3, 25 for 5, and then 30 for 6. And then Custodian Guard come down 10 for both the 4 and the 5 model variants, as well as Vigilators and Witch Seekers come down the same amount, 5 points per each tier.
Yeah, so, I mean, Witch Seekers coming down is also very interesting because we'll get some points back on that. Yeah, I mean, we're just going to explore how cheap you can make Custodians before they actually become good. Their rules don't really, do anything, so you're just paying to put, you'll just get, 2 more bodies on the board, basically. It's is that going to shift the needle? Probably not, if we're being honest with you. Alaris are getting close to a fair points cost, though, which is super cool. 5 points a model is a lot more than they've given us in the past.
Or 10 points.
5 points a model.
Oh, per model. Yeah, model.
Yeah. So, I mean, 55 is pretty close, honestly. 55 is probably a reasonable cost. 50 is probably the point where I would take a lot of them, but, I mean, whatever. I'm not going to fault them for that. Custodian Guard, very cheap. Custodian Guard are very cheap. Now, as I said, my list is probably going to go down. If I really lean into it, it's going to go down 100 points.
I'll say one of the big things that hurt Custodians over time has been the prevalence of flat 3 damage. More and more armies gained it. Look at Dark Angels with their Vengeance. It gained flat 3 damage. There's just flat 3 damage all over the place.
Yeah, so currently Custodian Guard are priced at less than 40 points a model, which is a little crazy. That being said, they're not like that good. So that's probably the appropriate points cost. But they just moved 6. And am I going to put a 120-point character in that unit to make it advance in charge one time?
You're going to put a 95-point character in there.
But yes, to shoot twice. Draxus's unit is in there for sure. So like you can, if you wanted to play the Lions of the Emperor build that relies on having a lot of, relies on making their bolters basically a lot better by giving them +1 to hit and wound, and then you stack a bunch of characters in there and you take like a bunch of 2 and 3 man custodians, or Alaris, sorry, and you give them captains, Alaris captains, and give the Alaris captains the enhancements. That list is very, I was going to say fun, but it is relying on playing the base Custodians army. So it meets in the middle somewhere. That playstyle is really cool. Custodians is kind of boring, so it ends up being like whatever. If you want to play Custodians, it's the most fun way to do it, in my opinion. That build did legitimately go down like 100 points. And you can get another unit in there. God bless. I mean, it's the right direction, but as someone in the chat points out, Custodians players, I often hear Custodians players say that they love costing less points. Nope, you are 100% correct. They want to do more things, and they have not done that.
Adeptus Mechanicus. So you can tell that all the units that I had in Worlds have gone up. So mostly the kind of really good Skitarii Hunter cohorts units, and then some amount of Halo Screed units go up, but not really anything else. So Call goes up 35 more points, so he is now 210 instead of 125, which he was before he got any buffs. This is a perfectly reasonable cost for him. He's still awesome. I'm still going to be running Call. I like him. Then Iron Strider Ballistari, they went up 5 points in the September update, so now they've gone up 15 points total per model, which, frankly, I feel perfectly fine with. 255 for one of the best shooting units in the game. I will take it. Yes. No problem.
Yes.
Taraxi Skystalkers, this is really me. Most people weren't running Skystalkers. So 5 points for the 5-man and then 10 points for the 10-man. You know, is what it is. If you really like these, you're still going to run them. They have great Fire and Fade potential. With Eldar dropping out of the meta somewhat, there's less reason to have to run these, but they were ludicrously good into Eldar, as you saw in the finals. Sakaran Infiltrators and Ruststalkers, these are the big combat guys, and they go up 5 points for the 5-model unit and 15 for the 10-model unit. Once again, if you asked me how many points I would pay for getting the bonuses that they got in September, I'd have been perfectly fine to pay this amount of points. So, like, I don't disagree with any of the stuff here. My list went up 210. That means I have to cut something real in the army, or 2 things. Is what it is. Admech has less stuff. You have to buy less stuff. You have to paint less stuff as an Admech player. I think people would be perfectly fine. I think this army is still one of the best in the game, personally. Yeah. So I'm very happy. If you're an Admech player and you like the other units, like you were running Corpuscari, Cataphront Destroyers, Scorpius Disintegrators, none of that changed, so it's all still good.
Yeah, well, they did the same thing with Sisters, where basically every unit in my army went up.
Yeah, it's just like they were like, okay, we're gonna read BCP, and that's what's going on.
I think what's a lot more likely than them looking at our lists and determining.
Oh no, Kenny told me.
Oh, he told you?
He told me. He was like, "What is in that list?"
I think realistically, what it is that we identified the undercosted units and filled our list with them. And then they identified the undercosted units and raised their costs.
The real reason is that these are all the units that, besides Skystalkers, that gained real rules buffs in September and either got a small points increase or no points increase then.
Yeah.
So Call had gone up, Iron Striders had gone up, but the Sakarans hadn't. And then Skystalkers get a hit mostly from me. And then Eldar here. So
yes, Eldar
they got the rules changes that we saw in this data slate, and now we have points changes to most of the key units that you were seeing.
Yes, my particular version of Warhost went up 150 points. Most versions of them went up like 125-ish, right? Somewhere in there. They hit all the good units, right? They hit all of the ones people were filling their lists with. Now, that doesn't mean that the second tier of Eldar units aren't good. I think some of them are. And people might pivot to them, but if I'm being real with you, probably not. You're probably, if you do take Warhost, you're probably just going to include like 120 fewer points of stuff in that list, and you're going to just roll with it. Jane Czar went up 15. She is still the GOAT because she can go back in transports. God bless.
It's crazy how cheap she was.
Yep.
I got to be honest.
Lycus's unit went up 25 points. You're still going to take it, although 240 for a unit that's one shot. We're going to find out how good that rule is, basically.
Both her rules.
Yes, because her rule's still good enough you're going to take her, right? You're still going to take Lycus, you're still going to take Warp Spiders. But the question is, at what points cost do you stop? Is it 240 for the unit? Probably not. Is it 260? We'll find out. We'll see. If you really, really want, you can take her in a 10-man. The 10-man didn't change in terms of cost, right? It just costs more, but you get Lycus in a big unit. You probably won't do that, but 240 seems reasonable.
It's crazy that these are their points cost with the increase. I'm not going to lie. Lycus is one of the most broken data sheets in the entire game. And it's honestly surprising they went after some of the nerfs instead of nerfing her data sheet personally.
She's pretty good.
Yeah.
Eldrad going up and Storm Guardians going up feels a little odd, but whatever. I wasn't even seeing that many people play. Did Liam have Storm Guardians?
He had one unit of Guardians. Yeah, I think he had a unit of Storm Guardians.
If he's taking a unit of Guardians, it would be Storm Guardians.
Yeah.
Yeah. My list had Storm Guardians as well, which is part of the reason why I went up 150.
But overall, nothing from the Harlequins gets hit here, and then other data sheets that you might pivot to, like Azurman and his Dire Avengers, that Free Fire and Fade, or some of the others. I know people were enjoying Shining Spears and Aspect Host. Maybe we'll see a pivot towards some of those.
Possibly. I will say, as much as I am personally really happy right now that I don't have to plan to play into the absolute cancer that was a highly skilled Eldar player, I think the points changes might have been too much. Not like too much like the army's going to be dog now, but like you hit them very hard in the rules department. And if you hit them also in the points department, it's very tough to know exactly when you're going to go over that line and make the army because you don't want to remove an army from the game. You do want to hit the balance point, right? Like that Eldar army is sick. It's just too good. So you want to make it so people can play that army, just not in a way that is abusive, right? A very fast, aggressive Eldar army is awesome. That's cool. The way it was playing, not so cool, not so awesome. So we'll see. I don't think they need to hit the points this hard when they hit the rules that hard, but listen, they wanted to be sure, I guess.
Eldar usually finds a way, so we'll see if the Eldar players can do it. All right, so that's Eldari. Guard, no changes in here, but they did get their brand new detachment, the Grizzled Company, which frankly is one of the best detachments in the entire game, and I expect Guard to be one of the absolute best armies out there.
Yes.
If you haven't remembered playing against Bulgrin, get ready.
Grizzled Company is messed up. It's real one's hit wound for the army. It's insane. What are we doing here?
You have to order those units, Jack.
By the way, I am not saying that Eldar is dead. I do think Aspect Host and War Host are in rough shape right now. There are other directions you can pivot to if you're an Eldar player that are perfectly playable and good even.
So yeah, that's Guard. Guard are making out like bandits here. Wow.
Yes.
Real good.
Okay.
Black Templars.
I have a bit of a discussion here about how when an army, because what it looks like here, right, is that the army, they didn't want to nerf the army. Right? They didn't want to make it worse. Black Templars aren't ripping up the meta or nothing. They're like fine.
They're like middle.
They're like fine,
They're
right?
Like them and Votann right in there.
Their power levels, whatever. Now, is the Codex staggeringly boring and all the detachments in it awful? Yes. But you have the Gladius, so, you know. Did Blood Angels need a Grotmus detachment? No. I'm happy they got it. Black Templars needed a Grotmus detachment. Anyway, what they do when they look at an army and they say, this army is fine power level-wise, but we want to mix things up. Perfectly reasonable, right? A noble goal. What they do is they nerf the units that you see in the lists and they buff units you don't see. And that sounds like a fantastic plan for mixing up lists. The problem is they're nerfing the units you are using, and then they're adding some buffs to units you never see. So you are taking a nerf, is what that looks like. Because I'm not taking a Crusade Ancient. I'm sorry. That guy sucks. The Execrator, I can advance and charge into losing every fight I get into because he sucks. The Gladiator Valiant, okay, the Gladiator Valiant's fine, but like 10 extra points, are we kidding me? But we like nerf the units that the lists are actually built around, nerfs the army. We're going to see this in World Eaters as well. Also, my army. So this just nerfs the army, right? Straight up, it's like 30 points on 2 Rep X's, 10 points on the EC, and then 10 points for every Castellan. It didn't need to happen.
Like 60, 70 points.
Yeah, it's like, list. Yeah, about that. It's like 70 points. These buffs don't do anything to change the needle, like to move the needle.
You're not going to run the Ancient Detachment?
I'm not going to run the Ancient Detachment. The Crusade Ancient, do you know what he does?
He's the Fight on Death?
I think he's a 4-up fight on death.
Yeah.
And that's all he does. So, no, I'm not taking him. Thank you. Dropping him 10 points did not actually compensate for any of these.
I'll say this lines up with, you'll see one of the Votann changes, the only points nerf on there. It feels like some of the changes were made like a while ago when we're just sitting there. There. This feels that way.
So what often will happen, right, is that they will buff a whole slate of things even, and then nerf 1 or 2 things that appear in most lists, and net that will be a nerf for the army. Like, I don't know, man. The nerfing 3 things, buffing 3 things just makes an army worse. And if they do that every balance slate, it feels bad because your list constantly loses like 40 to 50 points. And your army eventually will just have lost like 150. I don't know. I think that needs to be rethought. Like that philosophy needs to be rethought.
Yeah. Like I said, every time the Crusade Agent is so bad that effectively, if he becomes cheap enough to take, it's simply because he is a body on the board that's cheap enough, not because he does anything cool. Yep. Same thing for the Execrator. These point decreases don't matter. What would matter is doing a Grotmas of data sheets and just rewriting them to be good.
Yep.
And then you don't need to drop points.
Yep. The Execrator looks amazing. He gives advance and charge to his unit. Awesome. And then something else, I think. I don't remember. But the problem is Black Templar units need their characters to actually make them do things when they get to combat. So
yeah, you're going to take the guys who give you full rerolls to hit or crit 5s.
Yep, because otherwise you have 3 attacks at 5/2/2, right? Like, otherwise you do just not hit that hard. We saw that in the game we played. I Execrator, advanced and charge into you and killed like a guy.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. Like a 5-man Purifier squad too.
It was a 5-man Purifier squad. I think I killed like 2.
Yeah.
It was not good.
I clapped back and killed the unit with the...
Yes.
It's like, what?
Yep. That's what happens if you take the Execrator. You'll get to every combat that you want, and then you will lose them all.
Now, Blood Angels got a awesome new detachment in Grotmas, and then their only direct points change is a drop 10 points on the Sanguinor. He's seen in your Angelic Inheritors list, but really not anywhere else because he doesn't have the rerolls. So he's a good data sheet. He has some very tricky rules, but he wasn't really seen because of the inconsistency in damage outside of Angelic Inheritors.
Yep. I think 120 is the points cost where I really would start seeing him in lag, I think. I need to test him out in Rage Cursed. I suspect in teams he is worth it, because you can skew for certain matchups, and in singles, he probably isn't. In Inheritors, he is the GOAT, okay? He is the greatest of all time. And that, 10 points is just 10 more points to Arcellus gets. That's neat, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think Blood Angels are also going to be one of the big winners here, especially on the back of their new detachment. Chaos Demons. So they are going to get a couple changes here. So Fate Weaver and the Lord of Change go up based on gaining flat 3 damage on their weapons. The Keeper's Secrets goes down 30 points. Shalaxi Hellbane goes down 40 points. Remember, these data sheets got severely nerfed from January to the kind of detachments that gain them. So that's probably still not going to make too much of a difference. Maybe the Keeper might be seen 240 for a big monster, maybe. Rodigus goes up 15. This hurts Chaos Knights the most because it's typically seen triple despoiler Rodigus.
No, it does not hurt Chaos Knights the most. I'll tell you who it hurts the most.
That's not a real army.
What?
Yeah, show me any event won by triple Great Unclean One in Rodigus.
I played against it at a team event. It is a real list. It is a lot worse now. If you're talking about Taliban summoners. Taliban summoners went from like a fringe playable army. Legitimately, it was fringe playable. You could run it, and in Death Guard, you might even be able to argue it was one of the best ways to play Death Guard, because Death Guard, not in a great spot right now. You can't do that, essentially, because all of the Great Unclean ones were 250, and Radagast was 250. You can include 1,000 points of demons. Bam. 3 Great Unclean ones, Radagast in the list. Radagast goes up 15. You can now take 2 Great Unclean ones and Radagast. That list is so much worse than 3 in Radagast that you probably just can't play it at all, is my guess.
And then
that's sad, but
other change here is Endless Gift. This used to be a 4 Phenopane, which you would put on a Great Unclean one in the Demonic Incursion detachment. Now it is simply capped at 5 of Phenopane, which is still a decent enhancement, but not the same. Like you were able to kill the 4 of Phenopane Great Unclean one if you were playing a strong army. Now the 5-up guy is still going to die even easier. So
I mean, okay,
so 4 Phenopane on a big guy was silly.
You might have a little bit of privilege speaking here, Richard, and that is gunline player.
I killed him with old Index Drukhari Jack, okay?
You can put him down. If you're a melee army, it gets a lot harder because you need to chain activations into him, and he can interrupt and then heal. It becomes a lot more annoying.
I'm all about taking 4 of Phenopane out of the game. It's just silly.
Right, other than Wardens, I understand what you're saying.
No, if they get rid of 4 Phenopane on them, they can actually put real buffs in this army.
I don't think that's victim blaming of the highest order.
Chaos Knights here. So they get 2 drops on knights that you basically never see, and 15 points on the knight you're still going to see 3 of.
Yes. Same exact thing that happened to Black Templars, where your list is just going to go up 45. I will say
60 with Radagast.
60 with Radagast. I do think that the Desecrator is better than people give it credit for because it has range. And range can really help you out in either shootouts where your opponent has you outgunned, can help you pick angles and play at long range, or in the mirror specifically. That being said, yes, people's list will probably just go up 60 and they'll figure it out from there.
Cut like a Beast of Nurgle or something like that.
Yes.
And then Chaos Space Marines here. So the Terminator Lord, which Nick has been experimenting with in Creations of Bile, and some other detachments, goes down 10 points. Pretty good change. You can make him quite durable with a variety of enhancements. Bile goes up 15. He's just a good stand back up character. 85 was pretty cheap for him. And the Forge Fiend goes down 10. So some of the shooting variants quite like that change. Yep. But overall, CSM basically in the same kind of middle of the pack type of position, I would say.
But we're seeing the same thing, right? Bile goes up. He's the unit everyone's taking.
Yeah, there's
Forge Fiends and Chaos Lords and Terminator armor, not units people are taking generally. Nick was playing around with that guy. He was pretty decent.
Yeah.
But generally people aren't taking them, so most people's lists are just going to get worse.
Mm-hmm. No change at the enhancements. And then Dark Angels here. Azrael cops a random plus 10 points. Now, is he an awesome character and have two of the best data sheet rolls? He's awesome. 100%. 125 still worth it if you're running him. Just it randomly happened now. And then Ravenwing Black Knights get a points decrease, a further one. They've been decreasing the whole edition. Is this the point that we see them? Probably still no.
No, and I'll tell you why. So their claim to shame is that they weren't even the unit that the Ravenwing command squads were leading. Because the Ravenwing command squads would lead Outriders. Outriders are 80 points. Ravenwing Black Knights are 80 points. I suspect they'll still lead Outriders. But
this helps. If you love Ravenwing, this helps a lot.
If you want to take Black Knights, God bless. You know?
Death Guard, the Land Raider. It makes it to the same points cost as other ones, and then Radagast gets his increase. Yes. But otherwise, Death Guard kind of sitting same middle of the pack type of scenario now.
Yeah.
Deathwatch, the Indomitor kill team. This is the Gravis kill team with the Eradicators and the Heavy Intercessors. Goes up 15 points. It was probably undercosted.
There's 25 points a model for Gravis bodies that shot the crap out of you.
And can teleport and get all sorts of buffs. So perfectly reasonable change here. No decreases for Deathwatch. So most lists had 2 of these units, so they go up 30 points. Change around some of the trash package is what it is. They are going to increase by Devastator Centurions going up, but that was also needed. Drukhari. 2 changes only, which is pretty surprising to me. Ravager goes down 5 points. Whatever. The Reavers, the 6 model unit specifically, goes up 10. No changes to Hellions, which I think is one of the absolute best data sheets in this book. That's kind of surprising. I think they're significantly better than Reavers, in my opinion. And then all the characters are just really cheap. They hit really hard. They're excellent. You can get them back in Venoms. It's sweet. And then none of the other things you really like. Racks are just not very good, in my opinion. I'd like to see a decrease on them. The Void Raven, you're never taking that. I'm sorry, Scary. It's just not really at a Worlds. You're not taking a Void Raven bomber.
I think realistically, what they did was they looked at Reavers and they gave it the discounted 6 model unit because they're like, surely no one will take a 6-man Reaver unit.
And they did.
And then people were, and they were like, oh, I see. Oopsie. So I think they just reset it so that it's 3 for 70 and 6 for 140. And you don't get any kind of rebate for taking the full man unit because the full man unit is actually pretty good. So.
Yeah, I'd like to see some of the cost drop on like Cabalites and increase on the characters just to kind of even that out a little bit. Cabalites at 115, if you just look at that data sheet, you're like, that seems insane. But is what it is. I think Drukhari is still in a great spot. Emperor's Children. So you see a lot of green here, and then there's one red thing. And the red thing is by far one of the best data sheets in the game. So all the Winged Princes are going up 15. Most of the lists have pivoted to 3 of them, so plus 45 points. And then a variety of other things. The Footprints goes down, Terminators, the Spawn. Spawn become interesting at 70 because now they fit into that zone where, if you can't fit an extra Rhino in or something valuable, you can actually just get a Spawn unit instead of getting a solo character.
Yes. So the Demon Prince of Slaanesh with Wings has busted rules. And so we're seeing it slowly revert to the points cost that those rules should have. The Winged Demon Prince and Hellions are kind of in the same boat. I mean, Hellions will be, is my guess, my next balance slate, because those things are cracked.
Yeah.
Where they just gave a unit rules that are too good to what they want, to what the ostensible points cost of this unit should be, right? A Demon Prince with Wings should not be 240 points. But if you're going to give it those kind of rules, I think eventually it settles there. So they need to give it slightly worse rules so they can give it the points cost that people associate with the Demon Prince. Same thing with Hellions. Hellions are crazy. They hit so hard. It's insane. If you think you know how hard they hit, you don't, unless you play Drukhari or have gotten an introduction to this unit.
Let me just give you a slight anecdote, which I played Cass on a battle report on the channel very recently where he was playing Ultramarines. And on his home objective, he had 5 Intercessors. I rapided down some Hellions and attacked the Intercessors. And he was contemplating whether to spend Armor of Contempt on this.
A 10-man or a 5-man?
5-man.
A 10-man.
I would have killed almost 10 Intercessors.
Yes. But the issue with Hellions is that clearly they're not supposed to be like a unit that's like 220 for 10 guys or anything, right?
Yeah.
230 for 10, right? They're not supposed to be there. But if you're going to give them rules that require that points cost, eventually the unit is going to be priced to a point where it's ridiculous.
Yeah. GSC, no direct changes here. I think they're just happy that everything is changing around them. They're in that spot where they got nerfed the previous one, and they're like, don't look at us for a bit.
Yes.
Grey Knights.
Wow. That'll do it.
Here we go. Interceptors are seen. They are actually genuinely quite good, but this is basically reverting the nerf that they randomly took from Index to Codex, even though they didn't change. I don't know why they increased points. Now they're back to where they were in the Index.
Yep.
Purgation Squads, this is a useless data sheet. Like I said, the weapons are garbage. It's just 5 Marine bodies for 115 points that don't do anything. Awesome. Wow.
Imperial agents really...
There should be changes here. There aren't.
There should be. Realistically, they should support this army. If you're going to make an army...
Yeah, if you're going to have people buy a book and a code, you support the army. You just do it.
If you print a codex for an army, you are saying this is an army you can buy into if you like its vibe. And we got your back. And they clearly do not got your back if you bought into agents.
If you read the points, nothing out here is egregious. It looks like, hey, you can actually build an army. The problem with agents is they have no roles. They should be able to requisition any Imperial units, like up to 500, 750 points or something, so that they could fill the roles they need, but this doesn't work.
Yeah, if you want light infantry that kills light and medium infantry, if that's all you need to do, this army's very good. But
that's all it does.
That's all it does. If your opponent brings a tank, you're like, well, damn.
Damn it.
You found my secret hidden weakness of a tank. Actually, one tank is fine. 2 tanks, though.
My random melta-guns better pop off here.
I actually played agents to a tournament. It was a uniquely miserable experience.
Oh, and then we go into Imperial Knights here, and they basically, some of the big knights, including ones that you do see, like the Crusader Defender from time to time, have gone down. The Warden is though.
Yeah, the Warden is quite good in, especially in a Spearhead Arms list, which I think is quite good.
So these change over here. The Armigers stay the same points, and Knights benefit a lot from the top of the game changing a bit.
Yes.
Leagues of Votann. So Arcanist Evaluator, Bury, and then the Call is the other main character. They go down. Bury was 110 points, which is insane. He's 95. I still don't think you take him over 10 warriors, which is 5 points more. I think he just doesn't do enough. He has the same problem as the Sanguinor. If there was a detachment that was reroll 1 stat, 1 to wound for character units, you would definitely see him there. Yes. But outside of that, he doesn't kill 5 Space Marines. He doesn't kill...
Dude loves rolling ones. Dude, last time I brought the Sanguinor out, he rolled 4 ones on the hit roll. I was like, I see. He killed 3 ponies. I expect more from you, man. Like, come on.
The Arcanist Evaluator is such a cool model, but 65 points for a model that's just going to, has to be really close to do damage. It's not what Votann need. And then Steeljacks come down a little bit. That's nice. There's more reason to think about running them, but they suffer from that 3 damage meta problem right now. And then the Sagittar comes down 5. That really should have been like 10 to 15, in my opinion.
I could see a point where you just take enough Steeljacks that it doesn't matter, because T6 -1 to wound is a point where flat 3 damage weapons still aren't efficient, because usually they're strength 8 to strength 10, and they don't like wounding on 4s. I could see that. That being said, I have not seen anyone play it, but theoretically that list makes sense to me as a good army.
The problem is that their damage profile, if the meta was all Eldari, or not Eldari, because Eldar actually killed them super easily, but if it was all like Orks or something like that, where it was like garbage saves, where volume of attacks is the only thing that matters, yes, then Steeljacks are actually quite good into those types of armies.
I'm not talking about like one unit, right? Because
I'm saying if you spam them.
Yeah, if you spam them, Eldar could not kill them. Because Fugan could deal with one kind of, and then after that it was like downhill from there. If you wanted to build a counter Eldar list, you take like 30 Steeljacks. That being said, nobody really wanted to do that, and you couldn't find the kits. So
they're pretty slow. They're slow.
They are slow. I will say that. They are very slow.
So Trivarch Cyber Implant, random Brandfast. This feels like it was done 2 months ago. I don't know why it had to go up. It's really annoying because it has the World Eaters problem of I have nothing that can fit there. I have to cut an entire good unit and put a trash solo character or something in.
Oh, we'll get to World Eaters when we get to World Eaters.
Why? Nobody's doing anything with Brandfast. I'm talking about it because I think it is the best way to play, but nobody's doing anything with it.
What is Trivarch Cyber?
It's the Sustain 2 enhancement for that unit.
I mean, that is good.
It is good. Like, I'm paying 40 points for it because that's part of the reason you play the detachment, but I'm not happy about it, Jack.
I'm going to be in a very similar boat to you when we get to the W on the...
Necrons, it's funny enough. So, let's say about a year ago, Necrons were in the position where they were in a pretty good spot overall, and they would get more ups and down changes than most armies, whereas other armies needed attention, Necrons got the attention. Yes. Even if they didn't need it at the time. This is the time Necrons need attention. The army has just fallen out of the meta because the meta still has super high damage. It can kill 20 warriors or 6 wraiths more so than most of the other metas that we've seen. And Necrons have lost the consistent damage output because the Silent King doesn't ignore mods anymore. You used to be able to say, all right, if you have 2 durable things in front of me, I am going to kill those things. Now, you're lucky if you're going to kill one of them. And that's not a great place to be. I think Necrons have really fallen quite a bit, in my opinion.
You can still do the really skill-intensive thing of take 2 Catan, a Tesseract Vault, and the Silent King, and you will manage to win some amount more games than you should. But like, that army's not good. High level players will punish it.
It just doesn't have a lot going on, unfortunately. I think some of the older nerfs to the other detachments need to come back at this point to open up more diversity for the army. Orks also
clearly they're in a great spot, so no changes.
There is like, what is actually the problem with Orks? Because their units are cheap. They've gotten a bunch of upgrades to different detachments and to their army rule. What is the big thing in your opinion?
It's hard to say for that army. I mean, it's not like a bad army. In teams, it's very solid because you can get it to the roll at once, and you can get on a table at once.
Is it terrain?
It might just be terrain, honestly. It's not an army that compensates for bad table gun army particularly well. You have one turn with an invuln, and then every other time it's and then your army's gone, right? Because you don't have saves.
Low AP too. 2-up saves punish Orks.
2-up saves, Armor of Contempt is their worst nightmare. I think it's too many failure points, honestly. Bad table guns is just a rough night at the office. A melee army that is a lot of 2-up saves with Armor of Contempt, or minuses to hit, or minuses to wound, or something. Sanguinary Guard, for example.
Victrix Guard.
Victrix Guard.
What do they do into that? I don't know.
Cry. Yeah, I mean, Gaz can 100% wipe Victrix Guard. The problem is...
then he dies, and that's it.
Then there's
they have two more
Vindicators behind it, and then you die. But yes, you can kill Victrix Guard actually quite well with like Bully Boys or something like that. But then the rest of the army shoots you. That's not good. It's not great. That being said, Victrix Guard and Ultramarines generally are probably the best army right now, so...
And here we go.
Everyone has a problem with that. Let's talk about Space Marines. How about that?
Sean goes up 25 points. He was like ludicrously cheap for a good lone op character, and now he's if you're playing Shadowmark, you're definitely running him still. Aggressor squads come down a little bit here.
They're interesting at this price point. I would say they're interesting.
Eradicators as well get a nice decrease down to kind of where they originally were a while ago. Kato Sicarius, the newer model, comes down to 95. The old model, which is still the one that you probably you're taking, is 85 points.
He's just better, right? He's just better, so you're not going to spend more to take a worse version of Kato Sicarius. You're going to take Captain at 85 points. Realistically, they should just remove Captain Sicarius and Old Calgar from the game and say, if you want to use the rules, use the new ones.
Yep.
You can use the old model for them if you want.
Centurion Devastators, they saw a huge resurgence over the past several months in multiple different styles. Wrath of the Rock, Dark Angels, you have them in Death Watch.
I played
you also had them in Shadowmark. You had them played in Blood Angels as well.
And Inheritors. Staggeringly efficient shooting platform.
Really
if
good.
you have some way of getting a 6-man around the board, that is a game plan unto itself. It still is, by the way. If you are, Shadowmark Talon, you're not going to not run a 6-man. Are you kidding here? The 3-mans were just mega efficient. You got a lot of shots with full rerolls to hit, and then the Lascans full rerolled to wound as well. And then on the back end, you got D3, 3D3 plus triple blast at 923, or 92D3. 3? Was it flat 3? Damn, I think it was flat 3. I'm gonna double. No, it was D3 damage. I lied. It's D3 shots, D3 damage. Yeah. But you just got a really, really good amount of shots with full rerolls to hit baked in, so you did not need Oath. It was a good profile. Just a very good profile. At 175, it might still be.
It
honestly.
Still is, I think.
Yeah.
Then we have Mr. Khan himself. John actually played a game recently with Khan with the Spearpoint Task Force.
John isn't on this video. Khan was garbage.
Khan
bad.
He went in. I had a Technomancer just on the terrain where he could attack me. So he comes in. He swings, does 1 damage to the Technomancer. I did have 4 Pain, to be fair, but he handed me 1 save. And then I used the Wraiths and killed like 2 company heroes and swung the objective back. It was just a whole nightmare situation. He was like, I'd rather this be anything else.
Yes, Khan was embarrassingly bad, still is.
60 points is crazy for a Space Marine character to be, but
we are also, again, running into the issue of sometimes a unit doesn't do anything, and so what points cost can you put on a data sheet that doesn't exist, right? Like, Khan doesn't do anything. What points do you put on that? A Crusade Ancient doesn't do anything.
The Lieutenant coming down 10 points is actually pretty interesting for Angelic Inheritors, where you put him in the Dev Squad, right?
You can't, unfortunately. A lieutenant
he
can't
doesn't
go
go
in devs.
What?
I might be the only person who knows that, but yes.
What?
You can't put a captain in, can't put a lieutenant. And I
my
believe I
God.
know the answer why. Lieutenants and captains, Primaris. So they go in Primaris units. That being said, this is interesting for Rage Cursed Onslaught. Rage Cursed Onslaught does not fall back and do a single thing. And so it's neat to think about including lieutenants in your list.
Was he going Blade Guard?
You can go in Blade Guard. If you wanted to do that, you can go in Blade Guard. You could give him like the Fight First enhancement if you wanted. That's probably a waste. I don't know really what to do with him, but the idea of a cheaper access to fall back and do stuff in Rage Cursed is very interesting to me. Might still take 0 of them, to be clear, but like it's neat, you know?
The Stormspeeder Thunderstrike, it was 150, by far the most expensive one. You almost always saw the Hammer Strike instead. It's come down to be still the most expensive one, but not by much, and there might be more trading between Thunderstrike and Hammer Strike now.
It's so nice that the Ultramarines tank gunline shooting list got, more flexibility in their shooting package. Really excited for their
Vanguard vets come up
futures there.
5 points per 5 models, and basically every Space Marine detachment just immediately went to, I'm just running 3 5-man Vanguard vet squads, and then if you were Shadowmark, you had the 10-mans. So not too surprised to see these go up. It was effectively all at once, where every Space Marine player was like, yeah, this is actually just a good unit to have.
Yep.
All right.
Somebody points out that Apothecaries, Tech Marines, and Librarians are also Primaris, and they can join devs. I don't know then. I don't.
That's what I thought. That's why I thought it could.
They can't. Lieutenant can't join Desos either. Can't join Desolators now. I'm thinking
it must be a balance reason then.
I guess there were two. The Scourge of Laskin and Devastators is just too much.
Victrix Guard.
Victrix Guard.
So they go down for the 3 model unit. Why? Whatever. But the 6 model unit goes up 30 points. Now, this was desperately needed because if we look at the events for the past 2 weeks, Marines, and particular Ultramarines, have more event wins than every other good army. Every other army that was at the top, they have more event wins than it.
Yes.
It's like an insane amount.
If they did not make a change to the 6-man Victrix Guard unit, the meta was going to be cancerous. They printed Victrix Guard as one of the best melee units in the game and then gave it a 35 points per model cost. I don't know. Everyone who saw 210 when it came out went, what? Excuse me? 210. That unit could be 260 very easily.
Yeah, 40 points per model is still, I think, undercosted for what you get for them.
I think this is undercosted.
Yeah.
Personally, still.
So if you're an Ultramarines player and like, oh no, my new model's got it. Don't worry.
Yeah,
it's all good. You're still running them. They're amazing. You're cutting something else. It's fine.
Yes. So triple Victrix Guard lists, which I think are probably the best way to do it. You can have moderation, and you can only take 12. You can have moderation.
Or you could be like Nick and you could buy all 18.
You could buy 20. All 18, dude. Yes.
If you run Calgar.
I think moderation is wonderful. I hope everyone doesn't take 18 Victrix Guard. Let me put it that way. That was just gross. Yes, it is very funny that the best unit in the game had part of its points cost come down in a balanced slate. And I do think it wasn't necessary. I think they really could have left it at 140, especially if you're not looking to send a mixed message about what they're looking to do with Ultramarines, because Ultramarines get everything. I don't think they needed. Honestly, I do think they were correct that a 3-man unit is not half as good as a 6-man unit. It is slightly better because you can just take the single character stuff that, the banner and the champion, right? Yeah. I think they were right. I think that it should be more. I just don't think that the 6 should be 210. So I think if they wanted to make it 240, just don't touch the 3 model. Do I think it's particularly relevant that they did? No.
Because you just take the 6-man anyway.
You're just going to take the 6-man anyway. Like, what are you doing here? I think a fair price on Victrix Guard is like 270 for 6. Maybe. Might be more than that. Unironically, it might be more than that. And they printed it at 210.
I like when you realize that they were basically custodians, but better in almost every way.
Yes.
It's like, okay.
Yes, the detachments you're going to take have easy access to a reactive move. They have a blood surge. They have 4 wounds with a 2-up save and -1 to wound. So they are
+1 to wound access as well to damage.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're a straight up bastard to kill. Because if you get within 9, they react to move close to you, and then they blood surge into you. So you can't do that. So you just have to stay away from them and try and tee off on them, which like you can do, but they're shockingly tough, actually, as far as units go. Oh, yeah. And they do a lot of damage. Ultramarines should not have +1 to Wound Oath. They just should not. That was a balance change. The +1 to Wound Oath was a balance change to help mitigate the fact that like Iron Hands and White Scars didn't got, they don't have any Sanguinary Guard, Death Company, Deathwing Knights, right? That sort of thing. They don't got none of that, so they need a help. They need a bit of a help to kill things. They need a reason to want to play just regular Codex Space Marines. The problem is Ultramarines are the best Space Marine army right now and have the balance change that was given to them in the past to help overcome their downsides. And they should not have +1 to Wound Oath. The fact that they still do is just a balanced nightmare.
It needs to go. It's got to go.
It has to go, man.
Just rethink what you're doing.
Like, what are we doing, man? You have Victrix Guard running over the meta, and they still have the +1 to Wound Oath, and they're the only army that can double. I mean, Deathwatch can do it once, but they're the only army that every turn can have 2 oaths. And they get +1 to wound on it. The moment a Codex Space Marine list becomes good, right? Becomes one of the best armies in the game, it should just lose the +1 to wound. Shadowmark shouldn't have it either. They are a good army. They don't need the +1 to wound.
I think you just pull it up, and then if you need to buff White Scars or Iron Storm or whatever, just do a direct buff there. No Space Marine buff. It's too different.
It was super annoying to me when Shadowmark was the best Marine army in the game, and they still had the +1 to wound. Like, what? Why? Why did they have that? Ultramarines, it's shocking that they still have it, honestly.
Space Wolves here. So a couple decreases. Bjorn comes down 10 points. Grey Hunters come down a bit. The Iron Priest as well as Murderfang. And then the Venerable Dreadnought that you're probably never going to see again. Nice little decreases. Bjorn is often seen in a good amount of lists. Everything else is kind of probably still aren't going to see it, but all positive changes for Space Wolves.
Bjorn's cool. Murderfang is very cool. Probably not going to be taken though.
Okay, here's my rant. Here we go.
It's time for you. I had mine.
Okay.
Actually, I'll have another one in a second because I know what's next.
All right. Breacher teams come down. That's great. They went up to 100 points when the Codex originally released, and Tau went up like 300 points for a list. They've come back down 90 points, perfectly reasonable. Love Breachers. They're going to help offset some of the increases that we've been seeing Tau receive. So that's great. Storm Surge comes down 40 points. It's a horrible thing. It's super expensive. No. Strike Team. I tried these on the table. They do negative damage. Every time I shot them, I did 0 damage. It's incredible how little they do. So you're definitely running Breachers instead. Then if you look everywhere else, there's no other green here. There's red. Riptide goes up 10 points. All right. Skyray goes up 10 points. Now, are these two vehicles in isolation worth 200 points, 150 points? Absolutely. Riptide gaining strength 10, I would 100% pay 200 points for this. Same for the Skyray. I think it is better than the Hammerhead. It should be more points than the Hammerhead. That's all fine. However, let's look at context. And this is what Games Workshop is missing. Over the past month and a half, my Tau list, my Moncall list, that was previously flat 200 points, 2,000 points, is now up 150 points. 3 stealth suit units went up 90 points, 30 points because you have to run a 110 point garbage 5 model unit. And then these units go up. You have to understand the context. Is Tau one of the best armies in the game? No, it is not. It is not. What has it won? Nothing. 0. I can't even remember the last time that Tau won a big event. Why is this army going up 150 points? What are we doing, Games Workshop? It's actually insane to me.
Yeah, stealth battle suits are not listed in red, but they kind of should
They went up in the last MFM update when the datasheet was released, and they went from 80 points to 110. It just doesn't make any sense. This is where you completely ignore context and increase an army. Like, do these increases in isolation have to happen? Probably. They're balanced at these point costs. I Riptide at 200, I'll pay that, no problem. But a Tau list should not be increasing 150 points in a month and a half where it hasn't won anything. That's it. That's my rant.
Yeah.
Thousand Suns.
Okay, I see World Leaders aren't next. Scintillating Legions went up to match the Demons' points costs here. They went up slightly more than the Demons because they started out slightly cheaper. They have some changes here that are actually that feel quite necessary. Zangor Enlightened went down. Zangor Enlightened with Great Bows went down. Predators, whatever. I guess if you're running the vehicle detachment, you can do that.
Michael said he's actually pretty interested in it now.
Yeah, it's legitimately neat. It's legitimately neat. I don't know what it does, so I'm just going to trust the Thousand Suns experts on this one. Sorcerer comes down. Basically, they floored the gas right on the nerfs for Thousand Suns, and now they're easing up on the accelerator a little. All right. Give them a little room to breathe. Let them up for air a little bit. I think that's perfectly reasonable. Thousand Suns got hit too hard, and they not only are giving you back some of those points, not like all of them or anything close to that, but like some of them. You're getting like, I don't know how many points back, some amount. But you also get a second way to play, which is with the Scintillating Legions, which I think is very cool.
They didn't touch the Terminators. I do believe Scarabacol Terminators are undercosted for what they are, but they are basically keeping that army in a very good spot because it has a very good win rate even after the nerfs from the previous slate.
Yes, I do think that if taking 20 to 30 Terminators should not be the way that an army like stays afloat, but that does feel like not drowning because you nailed your hand to the wall and you can't go below the waves, right? Like it's not ideal. Yeah, the solution isn't to pull the nail out, but like...
Scarabs are really good. If you haven't been running them as a T-Suns player, you got to get them on the table. They are super good with the Terminator Sorcerer. And then if we head on down to Tyranids, they get 2 specific decreases here, which is to the Carnifexes. 25 points for a model is a pretty steep decrease. And John actually used to run these guys with Old One Eye. And I think he said he's actually considering bringing them back now.
50 points down, man.
It's a pretty good one. And then the Screamer Killer goes down 10. They were mostly seen in the teleporting detachment because you can actually, get them into combat, whereas otherwise it's a little bit difficult. So nice decreases to some monsters. I think Tyranid monsters is the main area where they really do need help. Some of these monsters didn't do enough damage for their points cost or were too hard to navigate around the board. But otherwise, Tyranids are effectively going to be very similar.
Yes.
And then World Eaters.
World Eaters, this is a very annoying change for me for a number of reasons. One, Berserker Glaive and Helm of Brazen Ire do not deserve to go up. I don't know why they went up. There are very few enhancements that changed. Just the Brandfast one, I think.
It was random. Yeah, it's just, my Brandfast one and your Berserker Warband one.
These are the two that I was taking. Very annoying to try to find 20 points in that list because it's a small, line army. You don't have a lot of things you can just swap a scout for a reaver, right? You can't do that. Goremongers coming down is a great change. They were not worth 90 or whatever they were at the start. They're worth 75. They're kind of trash. But they're the kind of trash I like, which is it trades one time and it infiltrates. So, awesome. Lord on Juggernaut, not really my bag. He goes with the 20-mans. He's, him going up 15 is probably fair, but I'm not as tuned into how that works. I'm sure if you play 20-mans, you're sad about it quite a bit. Because every amount World Eaters goes up by is really annoying. Because the moment you go to 2010, it is an illegal list. But getting to a point where you're not in 1940 is actually really hard.
It's the Votann problem.
Yeah. Slaughterbound going up 15, I don't know, man. I guess in a vacuum, that's probably a reasonable points cost. But, him plus the unit is so expensive. And it's not really that durable that I'm not 100% sure that that's okay. Angron coming down 20, though, makes it all worth it. That's sarcasm, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. No, Angron is a garbage data sheet. And if you make him cheap enough, you will take him, but you're not going to make me happy about it. Here's the issue with Angron, right? He is perfectly lore accurate at the moment. He is a broken shell of his former self, and he doesn't work with his Legion at all. And they just haul him around because occasionally he hits things quite hard. Perfectly lore accurate. So bravo to Games Workshop for getting Angron's flavor just right.
I think he replaced Call as having the worst pick 3 ability.
It's quite bad. Do you know what it is? I'd be surprised if you knew what it was.
You've told me twice, and they both times I'm like, I don't care.
Right. So he is an aura of ignore mods.
It's only in melee, right?
To move and to hit, specifically. Oh, also weapon skill.
So
and advanced
not
rolls.
the Victory Scarred -1 to wound?
No. So he ignores modifiers to your advance rolls, modifiers to your charge rolls, modifiers to your movement characteristic, modifiers to your hit roll, and weapon skill. And that sounds like a lot of things, but it really isn't. It really doesn't do anything. Or he's a 6-inch aura of leadership check to fall back, which is neat, but if he is the one who sticks you in combat, you can still shoot him, which is kind of annoying. He's a monster. It was good on the infantry, but it's a lot less good on Angron. It's probably the one you live in. And then reroll 6 dice on the Blood God chart, which is super overdoing it, man. I don't care. They're so interchangeable. That chart is fungible. That's a new word. That chart is so fungible. One result can just be another result, and it's not the end of the world.
Honestly, he could have a pick 3. Pick all 3.
He could pick all 3, and then that would be... Here's the problem.
Is what it
also,
is.
His revive is terrible. You will actively choose not to spend 666s on it most of the time because he takes away your army rule for the turn you bring him back. He comes back at 8 wounds, which is very killable, but that's not the end of the world. But you can't rapid ingress him. He just has to drop 9 inches away in the following movement phase and go for a charge. That's it. So you just won't revive him most of the time. There is no reason to play him other than he is going to continue to get progressively cheaper until people play him. They need to redo his rules. They just have to give him rules that do things.
Like Fulgrim.
I don't want to take Angron. If I include Angron in my list, I'm going to be mad about it. I'm not looking at this as an opportunity to play a model I don't normally play because he doesn't do anything. He just moves 14, he charges, and he hits things. And if that's good enough... I guess that's good enough. And if it isn't good enough, it isn't good enough. He doesn't do anything. My Primarch doesn't do anything. I loved him in the Index. He was my boy. And they killed him. They put nails in his head. All right? And they made him perfectly lore accurate, as I was saying. I don't know, man. Give the guy some rules. 1 or maybe even 2. They did it with Exalted 8-Bound, and now that unit slots into the list as a perfectly viable thing that you can play in the list if you want to handle certain problems. Right? Rework Angron. He's the Primarch, and he doesn't do anything. If you make him 300 points, I'll certainly take him. But it's because you made him 300 points. His actual role, by the way, is he is big boy who can take -1 damage, which is actually very valuable in a melee matchup. Because if you -1 damage 3 8-bound, your opponent's still going to kill like 2.5 of them, and the one swinging back is not meaningfully going to reward you for spending those CP. But something like the Prince being -1 damage, yeah, sure, you take 5 damage, but you're not dead and you swing back like you're at full. Angron, takes 8 instead of 16. He'll probably kill you, on the return. He has no rerolls of any kind, so he certainly might not. There's kind of an issue with him. Is no rerolls means, oops, I rolled some 1s. If he rolls like the Sanguinor, buddy, you ain't getting out of combat. I'll tell you that much for free. But where was I? I don't know, man. I was mad about it. Also, those enhancements didn't need to go up. Why did they go up? That's just really, really obnoxious. It also means I can't clean swap one unit for another. I can't just be like, all right, I'll swap in Angron, and the 20 points will offset the 15 points that I had on the Slaughterbound, right? Because I still have 20 more points that take me up to like 2010. So now I need to cut a whole unit, and then I can't replace it with anything. So my list is like 1940 now? Really annoying. Rant over. Angron's a travesty of rules design, and I love him, so I want him to be good, but he is just not. And I'm not going to just take him until I think he's actually good. Right? I don't want to be taking a unit I don't like just because it's cheap. I will at some point, though.
So, to summarize, how are you feeling about the slate? Do you think anything is missing from the Balance Dataslate specifically? And then we can talk about the points.
So specifically missing, I don't think they missed any glaring problems. I think if they didn't touch Victrix Guard, they would have. If they didn't touch Eldar, they would have. I don't think they missed any glaring issues. I think Victrix Guard is still too low. I think some of the points ups and downs are not really that well thought out, but I think generally, like, the changes to Sisters are quite good. I think they are the right amount, maybe a little more than necessary, but honestly, that army still seems like pretty high A tier. after building it. Admech feels like they did what they needed to there. Eldar, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see where Warhost and Aspect Host shake out. It's a very resilient army, so it might still be all right. Who knows? You'll definitely have to build it in a different way. Victory Scar went up 30. Could have gone up more. Probably will go up more in the future. We'll have to. I don't think they missed anything glaring here.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would have done is just remove the +1 to wound and do something else for the other non-Ultramarines chapters.
Yeah.
I just start with that, and then we can mess around with Marines after. Get a little bit of knowledge over the next couple months.
Yeah.
It just doesn't belong there.
Yeah. Also, read the room, man. Read the room. Don't make Victor's Guard an orange change on the thing. Make it red. Okay? Nobody's excited to be well, Victor's Guards went up and down. They now have a more well thought out points cost. Nobody's excited for that. As I said, read the room, man.
The other thing I would like to see is that when these data slates happen more recently, previously it wasn't this case as more things need to be fixed, but as the game gets into a better and better place overall, where less and less things need to be changed, I would like them to go into some of the armies that aren't getting changes, like GSC, for instance, here. What I would like to see is them to pick one of the detachments or a data sheet or a couple data sheets that really aren't being seen or don't have a purpose, and just do a little bit of fine tuning there.
Yeah.
Just have every faction should be excited about something, not just that the armies above them are getting nerfed. I'd like to see that positivity in every slate.
Yes, because I think the really well thought out changes are for the top end of the meta, and then the stuff that they throw in there to mix things up kind of felt a little ham-fisted.
They didn't feel, kind of in tune. They felt months ago.
Yeah.
They felt out of place right at this specific moment.
Yeah. Whereas the Eldar, the Sisters, the Admech changes, those felt well thought out. Those felt like those will land armies in spots that they're interested for. The Eldar one, again, we'll see where they actually end up. But your list goes up 30 and then maybe down 30 if you swap around completely what units you're taking, that didn't feel very good.
All right. Well, if you are joining us here, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. In addition, leave a comment below letting us know whether you agree with us, disagree with us, what you're most excited for in this slate and to play in the coming months. We'd love to hear from you. And in addition, if you want to see games with some of the new detachments, which we did reviews on over the last 6 days, you can check those out on the YouTube channel. If you want to see games with those, if you want to see games featuring some of the armies that were changed significantly, head over to the worm.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, and on top of that, you're going to get access to our international Discord community where people are popping off talking all the new rules updates and what lists are going to look like and all that type of stuff. So over the coming next couple weeks, we're just going to be releasing all new games, the new detachments, all the armies that changed. So if you want to see where your army fits, definitely check it out.
Yep.
All right, we're going to go through the different super chats here. So if you do have a question and you have super chatted, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for doing that. And we're going to go through all of those right now. So we have SD5703 joining at the War and Bronze. Welcome to our War Room community. Make sure you sync your YouTube account to your Discord so you get access to the community. I'm Too Random asks, Templars fully dead now?
No, I don't think so. I think they're going to roughly be in the same place they were before with a more awkward list build for the next week or so, right? As you figure out exactly what you're cutting. Also, I'm sorry I forgot the person's name, but I think they came in second or third or something at SoCal or Cali Cup. Memory Swiss cheese. But they took Black Templars with 60 Primaris Crusaders. I thought, I'm going to be fully transparent here, I thought that list was bad. I was deeply wrong. I was incorrect. Okay, mea culpa on that one. Apparently, that list is quite good, and I've seen it in action, and it is very annoying to deal with, actually, especially when it's backed up by rep hexes. Now, how they solve the points changes, we'll see. We'll see. But that build definitely feels like it can solve the points changes, even if it did go up a 60 completely unnecessary points. But yeah, that list actually seems very, very good. Now, we'll see how the point changes shake out, and it's very vulnerable to meta forces. Mm-hmm. But we'll see. We'll see. I was very impressed.
We've got Lily Thara here, $20 super chat. Thank you so much for your support. Why does Games Workshop hate Imperial agents? What's the point of having separate points costs if you refuse to change anything when not allies? It really is they just haven't gotten attention. I don't know why that is philosophically part of their their thing, but it's very easy. The army doesn't have a role or several roles. Like Admech used to not have certain roles. They gave Admech those roles. They should give Imperial agents those roles.
Yeah.
Simple.
Games Workshop, big company. Big companies sometimes have people make different decisions on the same executive level. I don't have any insight here, but this is what it feels like. It feels like one person is like, oh, let's release it as an army, sell a few codexes, and then somebody else said, this isn't a real army. We're not going to release rules for it. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's like, don't put your attention here. It's not, we'll just put it somewhere else.
Yes.
Grimm's Instinct, $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Nerfing the only decent detachment in World Leaders without bringing up the others for tournament players is disappointing. Just make the others better for more variety. I'd love to see, instead of creating entirely new detachments, especially for armies that don't really need them, to instead go back into the armies that don't have diversity of detachments and fix some of them.
I do think that would be an interesting thing to do for Grotmas, right?
Yeah.
Grotmas, they just go in and rework detachments you just don't see, right? Instead of Nightmare Hunt, they just rework the one that's so bad I forget it. I don't even remember. Dread Talons. So instead of Nightmare Hunt, they just rework Dread Talons from the ground up and say, here you go. I think Games Workshop is a lot more scared of a company than something like Riot is to take an existing play style and to turn it into something else. Because they're like, well, what about both players who play Dread Talons? They'll be very mad at us if we change it. Who cares, right? Riot wants to rework a champion. They rework the champion. They just do it. So I don't know. I think that would be a very cool thing to do. Actually, is like they just go in and they rework like 20 detachments, right?
Yeah. Does CSM
I mean, I'm not saying that's easy, but like
Yeah. Does CSM need their 11th detachment? No, they don't. Does Black Templars need a detachment besides Gladius and the generic ones? Yes.
Surely they have more than 11 by now.
We have Callum here with a £2 super chat. Thank you so much. What should the psychic word do? I assume this is in relation to Grey Knights when I talked about it doing nothing.
Yep.
They should have psychic powers like Thousand Sons do. There should be powers that make the army better, especially in the ways that Grey Knights suffer.
There's exactly 11 detachments. Exactly.
Dude,
11.
I nailed that. Yeah,
you hit it. You hit it right on the head. It's too many.
So, yeah, I would love to see psychic abilities that do things like Thousand Sons have. They nailed Thousand Sons. They did a great job with Thousand Sons. Interesting army, has a lot of different mechanics. Grey Knights, bunch of data sheets.
Yep. Psychic keyword should be a downside that certain armies can exploit for having cool and unique abilities. Unfortunately, they just made psychic abilities regular abilities, but they kept the psychic tag. So occasionally you're like, oh, that works against psychers, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Bang!
We got a new man joining, has been a member for 36 months at the Worm Gold. Thank you so much for being a long-term member. I look forward to hearing that Orks look good, strong, they have Gaz, he's awesome, I understand no changes, then quickly dismiss how no one wins events with them or even does 4-0. 5 less event wins than Kron's Nids. No,
5 times less event.
5 times less event wins. Yeah, I mean, it was very clear. I assume a big part of it has to do with terrain. Orks are heavily terrain dependent.
If you know what the terrain format is, you can plan for it. They're one where if you show up with the wrong terrain, if you take Speed Freaks and you show up on layout 8, die, I guess. It's terrible. It feels miserable. If you show up with Bully Boys on layout 2, you're going to have a bad time. Or layout 4, for example. Listen, I get that you're future casting what you think we were going to say. I don't think Orks are fine. I do think Orks need changes. I think that 0 changes on Orks is a miss. That army, again, we like talked about it. I'm not sure exactly what the pain point is, but it's definitely there. It's a very honest, very straightforward army. And if any part of its game plan gets disrupted, it does not do very well at bringing it back. So I'm not sure exactly what they need to change. I mean, the army doesn't shoot, right? Which is a problem, considering it doesn't shoot and it doesn't have fly generally on a lot of the units in Warhorde. So it's a lot of units that just kind of run across the board and try and hit you. Also, the fact that they narrowed the gameplay pattern down to one single turn of WA means that you have to essentially get the not the perfect storm, because that says it only comes like once a generation or whatever, but like you need to get all your ducks in a row and then hit WA and have the game click into place. And if that doesn't happen, then life gets a lot harder. And because you only have one chance, I don't know, man. It's not a very dynamic game plan.
It also feels like Orks are one of those armies where against jail type armies, if you just get pinned in your deployment zone, it is over. That is just happens.
Yep.
You just can't do anything about it. And
You can
commandos
kill the
help
cheap
that,
screens in front of you.
But Michael's like, how am I affording 120 points on commandos when I need all these other things? You know. TPB, thanks so much for your £5 super chat or €5 super chat. Slowly coming back after a 3-month break. Are goremongers worth it to deny the enemy any of their scout moves?
Denying my enemy from denying my scout moves. Yeah, I mean, they're worth it. If you win the deployment roll-off, you can even prevent your opponent from blocking your scouts. Generally, blocking the scouts is a lot less impactful to me than just being another skirmish unit, especially when it gets to start in the middle of the board and being the first thing out to go kill a unit of scouts or whatever on the opponent's side. Although it is neat that you can scout up into a ruin. Generally, it's not a very good idea to try and scout bomb your opponent on turn 1, right? You scout up and then try and move up and charge. You can surgically do it with spawn, for example, but generally trying to all in your opponent turn 1 is not a great plan. So blocking your scout moves is kind of like whatever. But that is a side benefit to having them, for sure. Some people, it's the main reason they include them. Personally, I just like them as at this point, 75-point unit. Should kill a Marine unit basically every time, especially like a free strat off the Prince for +1 AP, and they start in midboard. So they're very threatening.
Then we have Order 6. Thanks so much for your $5 super chat.
Order 66.
66. Sanguinor is daddy in AI, especially against people named Thomas. Sorry, Thomas. You must have got Sanguinor.
Sanguinor is in fact
his heroic sacrifice.
So good.
Scal at £5 super chat. Angron got 5.56% cheaper. Are you seriously telling me that he wasn't within 5% of being good? No.
I do love the massive amounts of sarcasm in that comment. But yes, no, he was not within 5 points of being good. 5 percentage points.
Redrum 923. Thanks so much for being a member at the Worm Gold for 35 months. Appreciate your support. Are we taking Dad now in World Eaters? Brian thinks he's crucial against Victrix and Dark Eldar, and I tend to agree, but he's still just a pile of stats. I think we're in a fine place. Some of our Predators got nerfed.
So I think World Eaters are actually in a good place, largely because, as you said, the Predators got nerfed. You couldn't beat a good Eldar player unless you took a completely skewy list that had other problems. But you just couldn't beat a good Eldar player. Admech was really, really rough. Sisters was pretty rough. I know that some people, like especially the Sisters players, think that it goes the other way, that World Eaters are good into Sisters. Personally, having played both armies, I would say I'd rather be on the Sisters side of it. That being said, possibly not if they lose 120 points, right? And Eldar... and Admech also lost some stuff, so the trading game into them is a lot more reasonable, especially with -1 damage, which actually does work against Rust Stalkers, unlike -1 to wound or things like that. Mm-hmm. So I would say World Eaters are still in a fantastic place because they were generally good into most things in the meta, and then the top 3 would just wreck you. That's not the case anymore. So I think World Eaters are doing great. As for Dad, I get what Brian is saying. I think Brian is saying that as I agree with him, right? I think Dad is good into Victrix, and he's fine into Dark Eldar. He's fine into Dark Eldar. Good even into Dark Eldar. By virtue of being big boy with -1 damage, as I said before. And that is very good into most melee units because a lot of melee units are damage 2 and tend to wound T11 on 5s or 6s. And at that point, they can essentially not do damage to you if you save -1 damage. So yes, he is good into Victrix. And if you want to kill Victrix, you probably want to take him or Lord of Skulls or something like that. That being said, I don't think Brian's particularly happy about it. I certainly am not either. But if you're taking the shell of his former self in order to go hit something hard, you can do it. Is he good? No. But can he be the thing to solve the problem? Potentially. We'll see.
Then we have Wheat Ghost here. $2 super chat. Thank you so much. 1,000 Suns getting away with it. Feels amazing. They're in a very good spot. Michael's very excited to be playing more T-Suns. Yeah. And we're going to have them, the Scintillating Legion version and his Hex Warp Thrallband version as well on very soon. Then we have Dim Dum. Thanks so much for your £5 super chat. Thoughts on reanimation protocols redo. Limit the wounds recovered by a single unit a turn, but allow units to reanimate from completely dead once. Probably gets a little complicated on where those models should be and if models are in their spot and all that stuff. Probably what should happen is every army should have one Resorb instead of models individually carrying it, and that Resorb can resurrect a dead unit back. Specific ones, not anything.
I think if they do that, they need to take a look at some of the more annoying units.
I think warriors and wraiths need to be less durable, and reanimation protocol really shouldn't be the army role. I think things like the reanimator or the ghost arc should be doing that type of stuff, and the army role should be helping Necrons just be a normal 40k army. I think we've seen it throughout the edition. Early on, there were a lot of stratagems and different rules that could revive entire units for free, mostly. That was too broken. It was broken across the game. You all of a sudden you're playing with a ton of extra points. Like the difference between a 20-man Necron warrior unit dying the first time versus it healing over the course of the game something like 40, 50, 60 Necron warrior bodies. That's crazy.
That's a game win versus a game loss right there, whether or not you got that 20th guy.
And Necrons are very all in on that. Like I played a game against John's Guard recently where I lost the unit on the dot, and the difference between that dying and not dying is a huge deal. Yep. So I think Necrons need to not live on that edge and be a little bit more normal and have some sort of resurrection mechanic. But it's not the main thing they do.
Something more like Sacrosanct, honestly, where it is hugely impactful whether you get that last model or not. Mm-hmm. But it's not to the same extent as warriors.
It's not a almost 400 point unit.
Yeah.
With all these buffs and stuff.
Like if it lives, it essentially just restarts over again, just whoop, right? Over like a couple turns. It's no longer what it was at the start of 10th edition. But it just essentially heals back up, steals every objective. And then it
feels really bad as the Necron player once you lose that unit, because you're like all this support for it, all this positioning, it just doesn't matter, and you can't replace that.
Yes, I think the reason why is because your opponent has limited ways to deal with wraiths, limited ways to actually try and kill warriors in one go. And if they expose them, try to kill the unit, and then you're in a rough spot. But if they expose those resources, try to kill the unit, and they essentially didn't do anything, they lose those resources, and now they can't try again. And so it tends to be a very flippy inflection point of the game.
Yep.
That's just not great design, personally. Sacrosancts, generally, your opponent has more units that can take a swing at them than just one or two. So I think Sacrosancts are that concept done a lot better, I would say.
Then we have the Jason here with his $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Robots and breachers, along with other non-used Admech, getting no love. They do need love. This is the case where it's like Ultramarines, getting some points decreases when they don't need it. It's fine. Admech War, one of the best armies in the game. They can get the nerfs, and then you will see what happens in the next couple months. But then we should be looking at things like Data Som and the lesser played detachments, as well as some of the units that are supposed to fit into those. 100%. And then we have Viridi Scudum. Thanks so much for joining at the Worm Gold. Appreciate your support. And then Chris Todd gifted 10 Art of War 40k memberships. Thank you so much, Chris. Very much appreciate your support. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and hope you're having a great day. And then he asks a question here. $10 super chat. Jack, if Ultramarines lost +1 to wound on Oath, would you stop hating Victrix? And would you agree that Raven Guard also should lose it?
So I do think Raven Guard should also lose it. Partly because that army is just good on its face and does not need the +1 to wound Oath to compensate, right? Mm-hmm. +1 to wound Oath is for things like Iron Hands.
Imperial Fists.
The bad ones, right, man? The ones that need help. The reason I dislike Ultramarines right now is it feels like they just get everything. They get passed over for balance patches when they are good, and they get overly buffed when they are less than in A tier, right? Less than in top of A tier even. I think they get basically access to every single rule. They get access to the best characters in the game. They get access to now the best melee unit in the game. I'm sorry, I play Blood Angels. I play Black Templars. How is Victrix Guard better than anything I have access to as a melee unit? So then they also get +1 to wound Oath. If they stopped getting access to every single good rule in the game, then I would have a higher opinion of Victrix Guard. But it wouldn't be like, oh, okay, in exchange for losing the +1 to wound, I hate Victrix Guard less. If they just became a thing I hated less, I would hate them less.
Then we have next up, we have Odd Gray. Thanks so much for your $5 super chat. Eldar Gutted, GG. We'll see what Eldar play. Eldar players are always crafty. Every edition, Eldar gets nerfed. 100%. Always happens because their book is always broken.
Yep.
But they always come back and find another build.
Windrider host, the new detachment, both very, very solid. And I would be surprised if there wasn't some kind of build out of Aspect and Warhost that gets Aspect Host or Warhost that gets completely redone around where the rules are currently and makes. I would be shocked if it didn't make at least B tier. Mm-hmm. That being said, we'll see whether they can climb to A tier again with that sort of detachment. I think that play style of vehicles hop out, hop in, hop out, hop in. I think that is dead.
Yeah, I'd honestly like to see a game wide. You just can't after a Fire and Fade. You can't embark. Just period. Make you have to go behind a wall or something like that. Just take away the distance.
Yeah, reactive moves also into transports. Very sketchy.
And that's you as a Black Templars Gladius player.
Yeah. Well, it was fine when I was doing it. This was my honorable reactive moves into transports. That was honorable. Okay. It required a lot of skill. All right. But these Victrix Guard, man, reactive moving into transports, that's an abusive game mechanic, and I will not stand for it personally.
Oh my God. When it was a game against T-Sons recently, you can check it out in the War Room, but I was sitting there on the PC and the Victrix Guard unit reactive into the Storm Raven. And now he had no way to get on the objective.
Yep.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yep, it's bad when they do it.
Callum, thanks so much for your £5 super chat. Get the frustration on Angron. I feel the same about Swarmlord and Norns.
Norns, probably.
Yeah, the Norn emissaries and whatnot. Yeah, like I said, I think Tyranid monsters are where they really need more help. I'd like to see those monsters do more for what you pay for, or do a lot more and be more expensive.
Yep. Jay Hadson, what are your thoughts on the Assault Terminator change? And we didn't really cover that because it was in the Space Marine faction pack or whatever. It wasn't in the Balance Slate.
Aren't they basically the same exact thing?
No.
Nope. What would have changed about them?
So their battle shock check is not when they charge. It's now at the start of every fight phase, everybody in engaged range, battle shock check, which is pretty solid as far as rules go. In addition, they get +1 attack to their lightning claws and +1 to hit, +1 to their weapon skill, for the Thunderhammers, which is not enough to make them good. But it is enough to make them not comically bad anymore.
You would never see them outside of like very niche Imperial Fist type builds. But I always love those models. Those were my favorite. Then we have the Blue Eagle. Thanks so much for $5 super chat. Initial thoughts on how you would adjust your world's Admech list. Well, you're actually going to see it. In a couple days, there's going to be a game where Jack and I show off updated Sisters and Admech in a game in the Worm. And basically what I did was I cut the Iron Striders and the Thrallnet. Well, cut the autocannon version. And then I went ahead and switched some of the birds and just had mostly Ruststalkers, Infiltrators, 2 Last Cannon Iron Strider units, Call the Rangers, and a couple birds. And that's it. It's still a very good list. Super Baharoth, $5 super chat. Watch Titus have a rule called Highest Requisition. You may select Victrix Guard at their old points cost only if used.
Only if this is beneficial, because sometimes it's not beneficial, and you should be able to ignore that when it isn't. I was playing Space Marine 2 again with some friends, and one of them hadn't finished the campaign, so we were playing through it, and I was struck by how boring Titus is as a main character. And how boring the Ultramarines are generally, and I'm like, these are the protagonists of the setting. Couldn't do any better. No. Okay, so then I played Operations, where I have you can play as a Sanguinary Guard, and that was sick.
We have Bonsai Kitty Gaming, who's been a member for 11 months at the Worm Gold, working on building my 60 Sisters and finishing my 3 Exorcist lore army. What detachment you think would fit best? Not trying to win a tournament, but have a group with lore fluff armies. These are fun lists. 3 Exorcists is definitely not the most fun list. The fun list to play, I'm going to be honest with you. It is expensive to the point where you lose enough stuff in a competitive list, but if you're playing friendly games, I would hesitate to want to play 3 Exorcists. Maybe you go down to 2 and you put something else in there, but 3 indirect pieces is going to be annoying to play against 4 fluffy armies.
For sure. You missed a super chat, actually.
Oh, that's for you.
Oh, that's for me? Yeah. Jay has a $2 super chat. It says, big ol' hog swangin'. Which I'm sure he's talking about like squig hogs or something. But I'm not really sure what he could mean by that.
Then we have Redrum again, €5 super chat. Thank you so much. Orcs should be a combined arms army. They have many melee data sheets as the shooty ones, yet they are put into a corner to be mostly melee. This is the problem with when Tactical came out, and then what was the broken detachment called?
Mordaka.
Yeah, Mordaka. The rest of Orcs suffered with their shooting units because of those 2 detachments. Then they put Tactical into a perfectly fine place. I think those points increases can just come back off at this point, since Mordaka is completely a different detachment.
Yep. I think I think that the army can settle as mostly melee, like 60-40 or something. But yeah, I agree. I think they would get a lot better if they had some amount of shooting in there.
I think the tank busters in particular, they just come back down. Maybe the Sagmec comes down a little bit, but doesn't go back to where it was, whatever that 60 points or something. So,
I forget exactly.
Scarecrow, thanks so much for your 5 Canadian super chat. What's your opinion on Vespid 10-mans? Once per game, ignores cover, high AP, moves fast through walls, can reroll hits in Monka. Love you guys. Thank you so much for the love. I personally think that they're overcosted for what you get for 1 wound, 4 up save bodies. The 10-man is expensive. In addition, Tau with these points increases needs to have enough guiding units and enough damage units. And this is a medium. It doesn't have anything to do with guiding, and then it's medium damage, and Tau doesn't need help there.
It also notably basically only does damage if the opponent has killed something and you spend a CP on it, which...
You're already putting your good units into that unit
Also, killing the unit that you've procced full rerolls to hit against should be the free square on your bingo tile. Not not required to make a unit work. It should be okay, that unit does for free because I have reroll hits, and then we're going to put damage into other things.
If you could guide for Vespid and give them the benefits, I would actually like that unit.
Yeah.
But I don't without it. Eric Debates, thanks so much for your $2 super chat. Any ideas for GSC? We needed help.
No, I think GSC is a perfectly fine army and should have gotten 0 changes.
Games Workshop.
Is Tucker still watching? All right, he's clicked off now. Yeah, GSC definitely need help. GSC definitely need help. I don't think the changes to Host of Ascension I think they were too much, right? That army was abusive. Now it's dead. I guess that's one way. They won't be speaking back anymore. I will say that, right? I don't know, man. I don't know what changes they need to make to that army, but it does feel like they're agents adjacent, where sometimes they just have trouble dealing with certain things. They could also ease up on the Primus, man. Don't make him +1 to hit. Make him reroll to hit. He was balanced around that. The army was even balanced around it. And then they hit Host of Ascension very, very hard. So reverting one of those changes, especially the one that impacts the rest of the book and not just hosts, would probably be a pretty good change.
Yeah, that playstyle was extremely egregious to play against, but it didn't need to get completely deleted. It needed to do less damage on the drop turn and have the damage spread out through the game instead of wow, you're just dead.
Which they kind of did. Another thing that's really annoying for that army is if you couldn't kill 20 guys in one go, it kind of wasn't even worth trying, because they would lift the unit, heal guys, drop back in, get their damage buffs again, and do a bunch of damage. They removed that, which needed to change, but they did let the army spread out their damage and efficacy over the course of the game, because now they just gave you go back into reserves for a CP. It doesn't keep you alive if you just plunked the unit down in front of your opponent and was like, can you deal with 20 guys in one activation? Doesn't matter, because you don't have to deal with one activation anymore. You can just kill it. So that's grand. That change, I think, is very good.
Did they make 6-inch Deep Strike 2 CP, or one of them something 2 CP?
I think they made... I could be wrong on this. I think they made 2 of the strats 2 CP. 6-inch Deep Strike might still be 1. I'm not 100% sure. I know that Crit 5s is 2 CP, and that is too expensive. That being said, if they just revert the Primus, they can keep a lot of those changes in there and just make sure that this doesn't get out of hand.
We've got Commodore here with a $2 super chat. Love AI Sanguinor when Warp Talons fail all 8 saves.
Or you roll 8 6s and they don't get a chance to roll saves.
It is good anti-Warp Talon tech for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Callum, thanks so much for your £5 super chat. Nids also needs some sort of psychic table for more flavor. Don't have the weaknesses of Grey Knights, but they are supposed to be a very psychic-heavy army. I think Grey Knights have a good army rule for what they're trying to do, teleporting. That's a great thing. I think Tyranids having a Battle Shock army rule should just go away, and it should be psychic flavored for sure.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be related to Battleshock, though. We got Logan Al-Gaib. Thanks so much for joining at the War and Bronze. Appreciate your support. And then the Dizb something. Member for 35 months at the War and Silver. Any new stream, CSM, or GSC games coming up? Yes, the new CSM Nightmare Hunt attachment is going to be on stream tomorrow in the War Room. And then GSC will be seeing play by Mr. Tucker himself. In a couple weeks.
World's best GSC player. I said it.
Super Bahroth, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. 3-man Victrix went down because 3-man is all Captain Acheron could spare.
It's true. So in the campaign
in Space
Marine 2, because operations, which are your missions, are only 3 players. Every time the captain, Titus is like, Captain Acheron, I need 3 guys to go fondle that generator over there. Acheron's like, this is very important. Could possibly be the fate of the whole sector. I can spare 3 men.
Just 3.
Yes, just 3. Just 3. That's all you get. Yes. Also, it's really annoying. I had my little Blood Angel guy running along, and suddenly he was talking to another guy, right? It was Imperial Fist, and my guy was Blood Angels. And then one of us, I forget which one, said, time to show these Xenos how the Ultramarines make war. My controller went through my screen, dude.
Like, stop.
Through the screen. I'm not showing nobody how the Ultramarines make war.
They make it with +1 to wound, Jack.
They make it with Daddy Warbucks, dude. They're the rich kid at school who shows up with just a blinged out everything, all right? They have tutors for... Oh, man, they just get everything
3
handed to them on a
iPads.
silver spoon. Yeah, 3 iPads. One for each foot and one hand, and then one for... I don't know, man. I'm mad. Ultramarines suck.
Spooky Kabuki, $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Time to run Big Birds and T-Suns. You are getting that at 1 p.m. Eastern time. We are going to have the Thousand Suns detachment, at least Scintillating Legion, versus John's new Grizzled Company Guard. That's going to be the game. 1 p.m. Eastern time. Come back to this very channel, and you'll be able to catch that in action with some Big Birds.
Absolutely.
Care Bear Warfare, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Who's the worst demon Primarch, and why is it still Fulgrim? What needs to change? It's surprising he still costs what Angron does. He got a detachment that helps him.
Well, it's definitely not Magnus or Mortarion. I will say that. In the race to the bottom, I'm going to be incredibly biased and say Angron. The real answer is I don't know between the two of them, but I'm going to say it's Angron.
Then we have Disciple of Asmodai. Thanks so much for $5 super chat. What are your thoughts on Wrath of the Rock after these changes? It is still one of the best ways to play Dark Angels. It went up a little bit with Azrael and the Devastator Centurions, but the playstyle is still very good, and I expect Kyle will just kind of tweak around the points of his list that was top 16 at Worlds, and it's still very, very good.
Top 8 even.
Top 8, yes.
Top 8.
And the Lion is a fantastic counter to Victrix Guard.
Yeah, the Lion's very good right now.
Swishers, $5 super chat. I need you guys to stop hating on the EC Wing Dim Prince. No. That datasheet is the only duct tape EC has to stay together. It's got to stop going up. Noise Marines are very good as well.
Noise Marines are quite good, and Fractures and Lords are pretty good. Unfortunately for you,
there's not a lot else.
GW did not particularly write your rules in the best, most balanced way of all time. Don't blame us for just pointing it out. The Winged Demon Prince is hilariously pushed. And yes, it is propping up your codex, but perhaps you should be taking that up with GW and asking them to make other things work more. And then the Winged Demon Prince can go up to 240 or whatever the heck it's supposed to actually be for that stat line, and it'll be okay for you. As it is, if they do not do that, then yes, eventually the Demon Prince will be a problem because it'll be overcosted, and you're still taking 3 of them, and okay, you don't have a lot of other stuff.
We've got MMPK 1000, $2 super chat. Go into a GT with WTC charge rules versus GW. Any tips? Definitely slower melee units gain a lot of value on WTC. Like fast ones are still going to hit whatever they want to hit on both terrain formats, but the slower ones gain a lot more value on WTC. So stuff like Blade Guard, for instance.
They gain value into not fast melee armies. In melee on melee, the faster ones will just always connect first, right? The faster units. And that usually spells disaster at Royal Rumble or whatever for the slow melee units because they get connected on first. But you are correct that against like a mid-range army, then the slow units can actually make their way up the board a little bit better. The charge rolls honestly don't make that big of a difference. I have found as a melee enjoyer. Honestly, as a melee enjoyer, this is going to sound so crazy. I prefer to have 1-inching walls because I use 1-inching walls to get really uncomfortably close to my opponent without them being able to do anything about it. Whereas with WTC, whatever like 300 point, 200 point melee unit they put in their army can just hit me when I move up, which is like fine. It's just a different thing. But I've gotten used to using the 1-inch block on walls to get really close, and I mean like really close to my opponent, and then manage where they can go. So I do actually prefer as a melee enjoyer GW terrain, not WTC.
Yeah. The other thing on WTC is you're more often to see melee armies or mostly melee armies, and so things like fight first or minus damage or defensive tools that help a scary heroic intervention threat can help you on those boards.
Yes. To be clear, sorry. GW versus WTC charge rules through walls. The WTC maps can be really weird. Like I looked through a bunch of them for a tournament I'm going to out in the West Coast. But like they can be really weird sometimes, really, really skewy in ways that the GW ones aren't. I mean, I'm just not used to them, right? But some of them are very melee heavy, right? Very melee centric. Some of them aren't, and you gotta learn your layouts.
We got Babenji, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Orcs are propped up by the Gaz Boys unit. We have so many other units like Cans Dreads or the Hogs that could use a few points drops for internal balance. Definitely.
I agree with that 100%.
Matt Knight 8215, $5 super chat. Hey guys, how do you feel about the small changes to World Eaters? Was hoping to go under the radar. They're annoying. Jack is annoyed by them.
They're super annoying. That being said, I was going to say I can't complain too much, but that is just not true. I can always complain. I think World Eater's place in the meta is only going up because of just pure meta forces, right? The things that cause you problems are worse. The things that don't cause you problems are better. That being said, Victor's card, really frustrating, but they're frustrating for everyone. So, hey, it is what it is. I will say list construction with World Eaters, when you have a finely tuned army, and then they say, hey, just add 20 points to that, is like really frustrating, actually. It's really obnoxious. They're just like, oh, just go ahead, throw 20 points in there. I'm like, well, cool. I'm cutting 3 units and replacing with 2. Like, awesome.
We got Kyle Hunziker. Thanks so much for joining at the War in Bronze. Appreciate your support. And then Think Soam, $5 Canadian.
Think so I am.
So I am. Is King an auto-include in Necrons? I have trouble getting value out of him in games, maybe not being aggressive enough. In Star Shatter Arsenal, if you play that detachment, he is an auto-include because you can put -1 damage on him. Outside of that, he is very rarely seen, in my opinion.
Okay.
And that's mostly because ignore mods used to be very valuable in things like Canoptic Court on the Doomstalkers or with your DDAs in Awakened. But without that, he's just not really worth the 400 points you're paying for him. But in Star Shatter, -1 damage, he is still worth the points. Kyle Hunziker, $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Any early thoughts on the new Space Wolves detachment?
It seems pretty neat.
Michael's pretty excited about it.
Michael's pretty excited. It is definitely a worse detachment than Gladius, but that might not mean that it is not a better army than Gladius, just because we did do a separate video on it, just because it might provide the thing that Space Wolves need, which is the ability to kill things in combat. Currently, they have mobility on lock and they have durability on lock. But killing things, well, if strength 5, AP2 damage 2 ain't doing it, it ain't getting done. So, giving some ability to have increased damage is actually quite interesting for that army and might make it better.
And then we have Bonsai Kitty Gaming here as the last super chat, $5. Thank you so much. Follow up, would you run 60 Sisters? Metal/MM, the multi-meltas. I built them, all special weapons loadout. Thanks for the banter, guys. Have a great holiday season. You as well.
Not really sure.
This is for his fluffy list instead of running the Triple Exorcist.
Yeah, it says would run your 60 Sisters. Are you asking if you would run 60 Sisters or how would you run 60 Sisters? What's the question?
I think is that more fitting into the fluffy style of the game?
Yeah. 60 Sisters would be perfectly fine. You can make it work. A mixture of Dominions and Battle Sisters, I think, could work well for you.
Here's what you want to think about when you're playing like fluffier games or against newer players. You want to spread your damage over many, many units. So here, your multi-meltas are all over the place. So you have many different smaller activations. And in addition, you want to not have anything that can break a certain list wide open. Like 3 Exorcist, certain armies can't really afford to lose their key unit behind a wall. Other armies don't really care, but especially for a newer player who's going to be slower to play the mid game, you definitely don't want to lean too heavily on something like that.
Yeah, if you're looking to play like just a fun, casual, fluffy game, a bunch of sisters run around on foot is it should be quite interesting.
I'd play that in Hollowed Martyrs and have the stand back up characters.
It's the Hollowed Martyrs with stand back up characters is very funny.
All right. Well, that looks to be all the super chats. Once again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate your support. Hopefully, you're excited about Warhammer as we are. We're going to be playing tons of games with all the new rules. They'll be coming out in the Forum later today on this very YouTube channel for everybody. Will be the Thousand Sun Scintillating Legion versus the new Grizzled Company Guard. That's going to be a great one. And then if you want to see the post game as well as any of the other games for this week, including the Harlequins that are going to be on stream, the Sorartis versus my Admech, check out the Forum at theforum.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, and on top of that, you get access to our awesome international Discord community where Jack, myself, all the Art coaches, as well as top players from around the world are hanging out, talking shop every single day. It's a great place to get new ideas and also make a lot of new friends. And looks like we do have one more super chat.
One more. No more super chats. Just the one.
It's Ricky Chow, $5 super chat. So to recap regarding the slate, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
I would say so. I would say on balance, yes.
It keeps the we've been talking about the game has been as close as it ever has been, and this keeps that trend.
Yes.
Victory Scar need to be nerfed even more, but they got nerfed, and it's still a little less egregious than it would have been.
There are some misses, but they're not misses in places that break the game, and that is great.
Absolutely.
That is great.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you all next time. Let us know what you think in the comments below. So long for now.
Bye.